Brought to you by GTA, your island, your network.
No cookie cutters here.
We're actually looking at children individually. Before it's like, okay, it was offense-based. And so you look at a kid, if it was a burglary offense, then you treated all burglary children, that committed that crime, you treated them the same, they'd have the same kind of conditions.
Lonnie Brennan is the Judiciary of Guam's acting chief probation officer. Once a child enters the court system, she says they're pre-screened for risk levels, low, moderate, and high. For the low-risk offenders, research shows too much exposure to the criminal justice system can do more harm than good. For example, a 13-year-old busted with shoplifting.
Sometimes just the arrest itself will help him self-correct. Just meeting with the GPD officer, getting arrested. Sometimes if it's a low-risk individual, a low-risk use, he won't come back to the system. It's the moderate and high, those kids that are assessed to be moderate and high, those rates are the ones we're concerned about. So we want to focus our limited resources on working with those kids so that they don't come back into the system.
What used to be upwards of 80 clients at the Department of Youth Affairs has decreased by more than half.
So now we're down to like 30 a day, but that's still even high.
A big part of improving the system is understanding an adult offender is much different from a youth offender.
We want to make sure that the probation officers that work with kids actually understand that, they're developmentally informed. They understand how a youth's brain works and that they're not just treated as a mini adult. Like 80% of the kids we see have some kind of trauma in their lives. And so we want to make sure when we are doing the assessment that we're referring them, because we've identified their needs, that we're referring them to the right kinds of services.
Part of the reform includes more parental involvement.
Mom and dad can actually be more involved in case planning. So before, a probation officer would say, okay, the judge gave your child these conditions. You report to probation, you do community service, you do this and that. And basically, they had no involvement in the child's case plan. Because of the family engagement is that the parents are understanding our work better. They're appreciating the stuff that we're doing and also the things that their child is involved in.
Other changes include service learning instead of community service.
And service learning is to give children skills, to give them positive pro-social activities, but it's also it's in lieu of community service.
Participants in this week's training included members of the Judiciary of Guam, the Guam Department of Education, the Department of Youth Affairs, and the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center. On island was a team from the RFK Children's Action Corps.
Brought to you by GTA, your island, your network.